Okay, me too. A full flip through from Inktober 2018 and Inktober 2019, and I'll maybe talk a little bit about each one as well, so this might be a slightly long video. But yeah, if you're interested, it might be cool and interesting, I don't know. So this book starts with Inktober 2018. There's the prompt list. And my first drawing for day one, drawing slash painting. All of my arts is done in gouache and also with ink. Yeah, so day one was Poisonous for October 2018. Day two was Tranquil. Day three was Roasted. Day four was Spell. And it's probably one of my favorites, day four Spell. And day five was Chicken. And day six was Drool. And day seven goes this way, and it was Exhausted. And yeah, I guess that's me lying on a pile of books, busy dreaming about different things I read about in different worlds and different books. What day was I? What day was I up to? I have to go back to my Exhausted was 7, right? So sorry about that. Day 8 Star. Day 9 Precious. I did like the red string of fates in case you're wondering what's precious about this. Day 9 was Flowing. Her hair is meant to be like water. I think she's like some type of water nymph or something that I did. Day 10 was Cruel. And death can be cruel. Are we day 11? Sorry, my brain is like... Oh no, 11 was Cruel. I'm losing numbers somehow. Bear with me. I'm still slightly sleep deprived from the last Inktober that just happened. Okay, so we're day 12, which is Whale. And this is also one of my favorites. Yeah, I sort of was loosely inspired from one of my favorite book series, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And there's that parts where the improbability drive makes a whale and a pot plant both fall to the death. That's why there's like the little number 42 on the pot plant. So yeah, I don't know if there's any other sci-fi geeks who get a kick out of that, but if there are, then there's that. Yeah, now day 13, which is Guarded. And yeah, you might wonder why I did the Earth for that. It's because of like the borders of countries being guarded and that we don't have access to free travel and etc, etc. So it was weirdly actually a political artwork of mine, but might have not been very obvious. Yeah, and day 14 was Clock. I did like some steampunk type autumn, you know, autonomous type of woman. Yeah, and day 15 was Weak, which is both a personal thing for me because I have trouble with my nicotine addiction, and also it's an ode to one of my favorite animes of all time, FLCL. I think I did 2 FLCL artworks in October 2018 actually. Oh yes, the other one, they were right after each other. Yeah, so day 16 was Angular. And yeah, it sort of works because he is a pretty angular character. And one of my favorites, Kanti. Yeah. And day 17 was Swollen. Sorry, I need to keep looking back to that to remember which day it was because I didn't write I didn't write the day numbers on this, just the words. But yeah, I fixed that for Inktober 2019, where I did write the da- the days, the words, all the things. But yeah, also for 2018, I did like a full page, like to the end of the page, painting. Whereas for Inktober 2019, I made like a neat little block where I blocked it off. So yeah, I thought this was kind of clever for swollen, because women swell when they grow life inside of them, which is kind of a cool thing. Something I've never done and probably won't ever do, but I do think it's pretty magical and awesome in how we all came to be. Okay, number 18 was bottle. And it's like some magic potion bottles. I kind of didn't do that good for this day, I think, but oh well. It's another day where you can see I'm like burning out at this point. The next day was scorched, and yeah, I was pretty burnt out and scorched myself, so it wasn't a very good one. I'm not very proud of that one. Also not very proud of this one, which was breakable. It was a cool idea though. Maybe it's like little daisies when they push through the ground to grow out, and yeah, I think it's kind of a cool thing when plants do that, their resilience to break through ground. So yeah, I think it was a cool idea for breakable, although it wasn't executed that well in my opinion. And yeah, the next day was drain, and I'm not sure at all what I was thinking here. It's like some type of underwater whirlwind type thing, and there's a tempest in a teacup, I think was my idea, and then an octopus came into the mix just because, yeah, octopuses are cool. And yeah, it is actually octopuses. I found that out the other day. It's not octopi. Yeah, for the next day was expensive. Yeah, getting married can be expensive, if it's to someone overseas especially. Expensive is an understatement. Can be so expensive that it's impossible. But yeah, it's another long, sad story. But anyway, the next day was day 23, and that was muddy. And I did some type of like swamp creature monster in like a muddy lagoon. And the next day was number 24, and that was chopped. Yeah. And some like punk goth girl who just like chopped all her hair off. Day 25 was prickly. I did some goth girl with a lot of spikes, so yeah, and she also looks a little moody, so I guess she's prickly in more than one way, but she looks cool. And then number 26 was stretch. And it's some lady doing yoga stretches. And day 27 was thunder. And because it's difficult to draw thunder since it's a sound, I had to go with lightning, so the thunder is implied. And day 27 was, 28, I mean, sorry, 27 was the previous number. And day 28 was gift. Also kind of an abstract idea for this one. I went with like the gift of education, and yeah, I think it's a mom and her daughter, and she got a diploma, maybe she's graduated, and her mom gave her that as a gift, which is quite an important one. Day 29 was double. I just went pretty basic here, like twins, or it could be just two sides of the same person. I'm not sure. And yeah, day 30 I did jolt. Also kind of an abstract idea for jolt. I was going with like jolt of caffeine, in case anyone's wondering, like, how is that jolt? Yeah, and then the last day for Inktober 2018 was slice, and yeah, I just did like some redhead lady like slicing some oranges and enjoying that. Yeah, so both of my Inktober's ended with fruits actually, now that I think about it. Maybe I should try to do that next year as well, make it like a running thing. And yeah, on to this year's one, Inktober 2019. And the first day was ring. And yeah, I first had this crazy idea to try to get as many rings as I could into it. But I didn't get that far. I did like rings of Saturn, and then there's like some lady with a phone that's ringing and she's sitting on rings, and yeah. So I got 3 rings in, but there were more. I had my idea to. I had these grand ideas that for each prompt I was going to try to do multiple things for it, but that lasted about the first day, I think. And then all the rest is just like one of the things. Um, yeah. Anyway, day 2 was mindless, and yeah, I kind of went with going zen and emptying your mind and all that stuff. Day 3 was bait, and yeah, I wanted to go the opposite of like catching a fish on a line. I thought of a mermaid trying to catch sailors. So the fish catches the man in my idea of baits. Yeah, and then for freeze, I just did really basic. I couldn't really think of anything better at that. On that day, I was just glad to have done something. And yeah, it's like my idea of the perfect dessert. It's maybe a little over the top, but yeah, I really like ice cream. It looks pretty good to me. Yeah, and day 5 was build, and I instantly thought of Tetris. One of my favorite games, and it's totally stood the test of time, I think. Day 6, I did Husky. Yeah, I love Huskies. They're one of my favorite dog breeds, so I could have done something clever for day 6, but I didn't want to. I just wanted to draw a Husky. The minute they said Husky, I was like, yes. Yes, I will draw a Husky. And yeah, day 8 was Frail, and yeah, I didn't really want to do like a very depressing drawing of an old person. I felt like trying to do something beautiful, but something which still showed age and frailty. And I also tried to do like a double meaning with like the butterflies being delicates. And yeah, an old lady. But she still got some oomph, and she still got some beauty and grace, I think. Yeah, frail things can be beautiful. And day 9, swing. I was first going to do one of those like desk ornaments with the little metal balls that like bounce against each other. And then I had the idea of like turning them into planets, and then yeah, I just turned into this, and it's one of my favorites that I did in the whole Inktober 2019. Yeah, and then for day 10 it was pattern, and I was stuck on this day for quite a long time. I couldn't think of anything. And then I had the idea of like the pattern of a spider's web, which is kind of a cool pattern in nature. Quite a simple thing as well, but it was cool. Day 11 was snow, also went pretty basic, but I managed to get an aurora in there. Something I've always wanted to see is the Northern Lights, so yeah, I was happy to get to draw that. And day 12 was dragon. Not much to say about this one. He's a dragon. I love dragons. It was fun. Day 13 is ash. I sort of did like the funeral incense for ash. I was thinking of like, the minute I heard the word ash, I was thinking of ashes to ashes, dust to dust, so it wasn't that far of a stretch for me to think of incense and the ash from incense going from there. Then the next one was day 14, overgrown. And yeah, I just did this sort of like desolate city that's been overtaken by nature or reclaimed by nature, as it were. Yeah, I've always actually liked aesthetically the look of like abandoned buildings and places that have been reclaimed by nature. It's sort of sad as well because some of them are after really bad tragedies and stuff like that, which is not that cool, but some of them have other interesting stories behind them, and aesthetically it's interesting. Yeah. And day 15, I did a pretty basic one, legend. And I went with like the um, King Arthur's sword Excalibur, like stuck in the sword stuck in the stone, which is one of the most obvious boring legends. But I've always liked Camelot and stuff, and yeah, it's stuck in my head. Yeah, and day 16, I did wild. I was thinking of doing like a few different animals that would have worked for wild and stuff like that, but I just felt like drawing a pretty girl, party animal for wild. Which yeah, I think works for wild. Day 17, I did ornaments, and yeah, one of my favorite ornaments, it's like a little ornament of the USS Enterprise from Star Trek. Yeah, I have to always get at least one sci-fi reference in with my art when doing one of these art challenges, because yeah, relevant to my interest and all that. And day 18, I did myself for Misfits, and yeah, that pretty much speaks for itself. I think all of us at some points or another, or maybe not all of us, but most of us have felt like a misfit. I still do fairly often. And yeah, day 19, sling, and yeah, I just thought of a sling bag and it was fun to draw. Day 20, tread, and my first thought were the footsteps in the moon, walking on the moon and all that. And day 21, treasure, and yeah, my first thought for treasure was things I treasure, like family and memories, and also my art and reading and writing and making things and all that, and things I really treasure. Day 22, ghost, and yeah, my first thought was my dad, weirdly, and I'm not even sure what I think about ghosts, if they're real or not, but I was thinking more the ghosts of the memory of someone, that sort of interpretation of ghost. Yeah, and then day 23 was ancients, and my first thought was the island of Miyajima, which I was lucky enough to visit once, and it's one of the oldest man-made things I've ever gotten to see, and I just thought it was beautiful, and a lot of really good energy and ambience around there, and it was like a really deep, moving moment for me being there when I was. And day 24, I did dizzy, and my first thought was merry-go-rounds, like the kind you used to spin around on as a kid, and I'd always be so dizzy on them. It was fun in the beginning, and then you're just like nauseous. Yeah, day 25 was tasty, so of course I thought of what I find most tasty, which is sushi. My favorite food. Delicious. And day 26 was dark. And yeah, my mind went to a really dark place thinking of dark, like suicide and hanging trees and all of that stuff. Day 27 was a coat, and my first thought was a coat of paints, and then I thought of a cloak and coating yourself and all kinds of stuff. And day 28 was ride, and I was first thinking of like both bicycles and motorbikes and cars, and then I was thinking of spaceships, and once I had that idea, there was no going back. I'm like, nothing else I'm going to do now. And day 29 was injured, and yeah, my first thought was being emotionally injured, which is difficult to portray. So she's both emotionally and physically injured to show how injured she is. A bit over the top, but that was something I wanted to portray. And yeah, focus is going out a bit, sorry about that. And day 30 was catch, and I sort of did like a retro type lady. I don't know if she's catching balls of energy or planets or what's going on, but yeah, I'm into it. Whatever it is, it came out of my mind. I like it. yeah, and day 31 was ripe, and I did my favorites, one of my favorites, so fruits, grenadilla, and they are quite interesting both when they're unripe and when they're ripe. Yeah, it's the end of the book, and I wish there was enough to do another Inktober here, but there's not. But there's enough to do something else, so I definitely want to finish this book off with something which kind of matches and goes with everything. And yeah, that's it. That's Inktober 2018 and 2019. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.